Welcome to Ken's Corner Podcast, Season 4.
Welcome, everyone. We are back with Leafs fan panel and our special guest. Been a long time, Mr. Paul Hendrick. How are you doing, Paul?
Great, Ken. Great to be alongside the rest of the cast as well, and start of a new season. And I think every reason to be as optimistic as we have been in the past 8 years. And we'll see what the spring brings. But if all things hold true, guys remain pretty healthy, this is going to be a pretty good team.
I agree.
Yeah.
We're going to do a bit of a roll call here. JT from Thunder Bay. Phil, you're not in Durham anymore. You're in my bedroom, but that's okay. You're on the panel.
Phil's on the move.
And George Garbutt, all the way out there in Calgary. Is it still snowing, George?
No snow here yet. It's coming, though.
It was snowing last week, so you never know, right? It is Calgary. But we're here to talk about the Toronto Maple Leafs. And first up, we're going to let Mr. Hendricks give us his thoughts on preseason and some of the things you might have seen.
Well, I never read too much into the preseason, but you've got to read a few things here. And obviously Nick Robertson and what he was able to do and an opportunity to prove himself. And I know things might have been different a year or two ago, but, this is a guy who a very intelligent, articulate player who's garnered yet another year of experience, as difficult as it might have been. He's ready to play in the National Hockey League. I think he's ready to contribute. And the other thing is just the defense. So this is as good a defensive six and maybe, a seventh that we've ever had. And as long as they can remain there in tough, as I expect them to do, and the team to play as a group defensively, I think the goaltending itself is going to do just fine with what they have, given what Craig Berube can bring to this group as a whole on the ice.
Thank you. I'm going to pass it off to George here because he just loves to talk about Toronto Maple Leaf goaltending these days. George, talk to us about your excitement and our three, if not four goalies that we have.
Well, I'm right on the bandwagon with Stellar. I think he's standing in there and doing great. Walt last game was he did do good, but like I said, I'm on the bandwagon with Stellar, and let's get Hillby in there instead of Murray.
Yeah, I'm gonna come over to you over there, JT. He's talking about your Thunder Bay, Matt Murray. Do you believe that he's going to be remain a Leaf past the waiver wire?
I honestly believe he will. I think he is. I think he's a token you need in your back pocket. I've watched that guy play when everyone counts him down, and I've seen him stand on his head and steal points for us when he was not healthy. Right now, they're saying healthiest he's been. He's been on the ice here. It was all summer long, and you got to see him there. And yeah, he's agile. He's probably in better shape now than he was 10 years ago. So
that's good.
Yeah. So anyway, I have hope for him. I really do hope. But Hill the Beast, if you want to call him, is a monster as a third string guy. He's the kid's 6'7", doesn't even have to move. Stuff just hits him. I mean, he's just that big of a body in between the posts. So I don't know. Matt Murray has a job to do.
Yeah, you're right. Phil, we're going to talk a little bit about that lineup that you showed me just earlier today. And it penciled in Max Pacioretty starting in game one in Montreal against his former team instead of Nick Robertson. What is your thoughts on this?
Well, as Paul Hendrick said there, Nick Robertson had a fantastic spring or training camp. He proved that he is a bona fide NHL player, I believe, in this training camp. Fact of the matter is, though, is you got Pacioretty and his experience going back to his former team. I think that you would be silly not to have him and his emotions running in that game, playing against his former squad.
Yeah. Paul, do you think Nick Robertson, with those 5 goals in those 3 games that he won by himself pretty much, do you think he has earned his spot on the team this season?
I do. I do, but it's a long season, and I know when you've got a chance to add a veteran like Max Pacioretty, you want to give that a go and see what he's capable of doing. I just would hate to see them throw the baby and the bathwater out, and I'm referring to Nick Robertson. So, it's a great question, but I do think we've got to see what Max is able to do. It's just going to be interesting as to where Nick would fit into this lineup. But things have a habit of settling out as games manage to go on, given injuries and all that goes with it. But I think they're going to give Max an opportunity. I think they have to.
Yeah, I agree. I'm just going to ask the question in the room. Does anyone have a TV on?
I keep hearing it as well.
Thank you. That's okay. Now, Paul, my backup question to the Nick Robertson. I was listening to Frank Corrado and Mike Johnson, and they predicted that everyone could chime in on this. Nick Robertson, 25 goals this season. What do you think?
Yes. Things come around at different times for different players, and I totally agree with that. He's coming out of this camp very confident. He's a skilled guy, and he's playing for a new coach. So simply put, yes.
Thank you. Phil?
I believe so. If he gets the ice time, if he keeps on proving himself to be reliable defensively, if he keeps up that tenacity that has proven to be one of Berube's calling cards, he's getting out there, he's getting the ice time. I think that he's got the skill that he can do it.
George, your opinion, please.
I'm saying yes, and what a shot this kid has. If he gets that ice time, he's got possibly more than 25. He's got it.
JT, did he come in with a chip on his shoulder because he didn't have a roster spot on this team with his trade demands? And do you think that he's going to score 25 this year?
Every year, you're going to have one guy that stands out all the way through a season. It becomes that focal point. You hope it's a goalie. Every year, somebody does that and carries you through. And I see the tenacity of Nick Robertson, gaining him the ice time with Berube. He is everything that Berube loves in a player. He's not big, but that kid is tenacious. He is 150% all the time. I think he'll get the ice time. I think he's going to end up on the second, third line, and he's going to be better than 25 goals. I'm picking him at 30 goals and upwards of 50 to 60 points.
Okay, Paul, you're next. I want your opinion on Steve Lorentz, Kitchener boy, 6'3", I believe, over 200 pounds, Stanley Cup champion just last year. What's your thoughts on Mr. Lorentz?
I just love the jam that he brings to the bottom group of the lineup. Guys you need on nights when you're going into places like Boston, other tough places on back-to-back games. He just brings that extra jam. And Ken and panel, you can't measure what this means to the rest of the bench to have somebody like that. And you put in the Stanley Cup experience. He's been there, whether it's as a black ace or as an active player. He's been there along the line. So I think it would be a valuable addition. I just love it. And the price is right, too.
Yeah, you definitely got that. Now, Phil, the Leafs are going to have to remove some cap space to allow these guys to come in. Who's the natural selection here, as you see now after the training camp in this preseason?
Well, out of that post that I saw that I showed you, it had some guys down there that were on the injury list. Guys have been banged up and stuff. It's been a pretty rough training camp as far as the NHL goes with injuries. I believe that there are going to be a couple of guys that are removed from the team through waivers. Long-term injury is always an option. On that list, it did show McKay was a little bit banged up. There's been at times that Robinson has missed a game in preseason due to some injuries and stuff. I tell you, I don't envy the job of general managers and trying to get to this cap point. They've got, I think, until that deadline of 5 p.m. today to come to that decision. Who it's going to be? I've tell the God's honest truth. I've seen some great hockey so far this training camp, so I don't envy the guy making the decision.
Yeah. George, has Timothy Liljegren outstayed his welcome and maybe Kelly Yarncroc? Or is it David Camp, you think?
Liljegren can go as far as I'm concerned. We can bring in Hockenpah. We can bring in Hockenpah and put a big man in there and to do the things that he has to do. Yeah, that's I'm just done with Liljegren.
Yeah, Paul, do you want to chime in? I seen you smile when you heard Liljegren.
I know. It's just a right-handed shot, and the guy you've drafted and brought up through the system, right? Like it. Again, but I'm not disagreeing. It's just the baby in the bathwater, and I just hate to see this guy. And the only reason I'm saying that, I'm just not totally sure where Hockenpah is going to be physically over the course of a season, and it comes down to that. But he's a big man. He's a big man, and if able to go, then yes, I would agree with you 100%.
JT, you are you scared a little bit because I look down that list of defensemen and I'm seeing Connor, Timmins, and sixth spot there. Are you comfortable with Timmins running into the regular season here as our sixth defenseman?
I'm more comfortable with Timmins than I am with Liljegren. I'll be honest with you. I love the idea that he was drafted and he was brought up, and he's been coddled his way all the way through from bottom to top. And I think he capped out 2 years ago. I don't think he's gotten any better. I think he's reached his maximum. I don't think he's worth the money they signed him for. And he can go at any time in my mind. But I don't know. There's a lot of names down in our farm, I think, that it can still come up to. And I don't know. Timmins is a solid. To me, is better than Liljegren. I'm not a Liljegren fan. Never have been.
Paul, here's a name for you, Marshall Rafai. What do you think of Mr. Rafai?
Again, a little bit of jam. I just like. I like his presence, and this he was a name that sort of jumped out at me at camp. I had to do a little hockey DB on this guy just to make sure. So, okay, this is where he's from. Again, this is an opportunity to add a depth piece to this team. Ken and guys, they're going to need depth if they're able to keep all within cap permission. They're going to need this group to get through. I mean, Boston, Florida, even in Tampa, and then those three upstarts who are hoping to poke in and crack in on this. It's going to be a hell of a tough division, and guys like this can really serve a purpose. So again, congratulations to the Leafs and what they're able to add. But this guy could be a valuable depth piece, Ken.
Yeah. Now, like you said in Boston, today news comes out, guys, that Jeremy Swayman has signed for $8.25 million in Boston. Let's start with you, Phil. Let's get your feelings. Has this changed your outlook on what Boston can do this season?
Well, we can't deny what he has done in the regular season. Have been the tandem of Allmark and Swayman, but Swayman's a pretty young dude still. He hasn't been a proven NHLer playing the top number 1A guy by himself. I don't know. I don't know if they maybe overspent. Maybe they fell into the trap of giving the player what he wanted to make sure that they had a number one goalie going forward. It's still he's got to put the work in. He's obviously got a lot to prove for that money.
JT, I'm going to go to you because I know George isn't going to give a glowing report on the Boston Bruins. So I'm going to go to you, JT, and let you chime in on this contract.
I honestly thought he'd be bigger than 8.25. He's something that you could potentially build a team out in front of if he can do it. He has shown that he can. Now he just has to prove that he can. And I think they've put all their eggs in one basket and they're hoping that it carries them. And I hope he sucks balls, but I have a funny feeling that he's going to be a force to be reckoned with, unfortunately.
Well, let's hope that we don't see a Swayman Corpusello hug part 2. That's all I'm hoping, right? Paul, I'm going to let you give your opinion on Jeremy Swayman and Boston. Is Boston still, because people are predicting that it's possible maybe an Ottawa, Elliot Friedman, in fact, wrote Ottawa's name in marker that they're going to make the playoffs this year. So that means a team's going to have to slide. Is that Boston? Is that Tampa Bay? Is that even possible with Swayman?
Yeah, I think if maybe it's Tampa, if any of those teams, Tampa's still good, but Boston, Ken, that defense is as big as there is in the National Hockey League. They're going to really help things out. That to me is what Boston's forte is, the blue line. I think it's as good as there is in the NHL, and I think Swayman's going to be better because of it. That said, he's going to be tough getting off the mat. You don't miss an entire training camp and hit it running, even if you're a goaltender. So I think it's going to be tough. Moving on, and as some of the guys have talked about, it's not 1A and 1B, and it's going to be 1A. He's being paid to carry the freight, and we'll see. But I just think the asterisk for all of this is that blue line that he has in front of him, and I think it's only going to make him a better player.
I agree. George, we're going to talk about game one, bad blood. Let's call this bad blood, Toronto and Montreal. The name that I like calling him now, Mr. Arbor Wi-Fi, as his teammates call him, because his last name actually does look like a Wi-Fi password. Is he going to have to answer the bell to Ryan Reeves, maybe?
Well, let's hope so. I don't think that that our player deserved what he got, and if this is the way people are going to play, I think he needs to have somebody step up to him.
Yeah. Phil, I'm going to let you chime in on that.
I believe that the unwritten code in the NHL was broken by Jack Guy in his attack on our player. Granted, emotions are high. He saw that their brand new corner chip player has gone down with an injury. So he knows what his job is. He knows that he's supposed to get out there and lay down the law. Did he do it correctly in the eyes of the NHL and the NHL tough guys? No, probably not. Right. So I believe that there is going to be definitely some fists thrown.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Paul, I'm going to let you talk a little bit about Jack Guy's hit on Tim Stutzel in his fight with Brady Tkachuk, which happened, just a game later from all this happenings in Toronto. Is he just a troublemaking player, or what do you think of Mr. Wi-Fi?
Well, you can throw Tom Wilson. There's a few guys you can throw in there, but I remember Harry Neal always talking about find a guy on the other team that you hate and get him. If that was Harry's motto as a general manager. Whatever the guy you hate, get him. I'd love to see him wearing Maple Leaf colors. Do I like him? No, but I'd love him as a member of the Maple Leafs. Yeah, it was a dirty hit. Of course it was a dirty hit. There's going to be a whole bunch of those dirty hits. And yes, I think Reeves and he are going to go at it. You can book that. But again, with all due respect to this player, I wish we had him.
Yeah, I can't say I disagree with you at all, Paul. Yeah. JT's not too up on that one. JT, Sheldon Keefe, don't look now, but he is 2-0 as a coach of the New Jersey Devils. Should we be worried in that game 2 coming up? And how do you feel about Keefe being behind a different bench?
I didn't mind Keefe at all. He's got a process that he employs. He's got a way to play the game. I don't know if it's entirely the right way all the time, but he's a good coach, and he's got some good people behind him on that bench in New Jersey. All the best to him, but I don't think they make the playoffs.
Phil, I'm going to ask you, because this is something we spoke about as well. All the injuries that are happening in the NHL, is this just freak accidents, or the players playing too much? Or actually, I don't know if they're going to push forward on it, but I hear there's rumblings that maybe they're too long of a preseason. Detroit, 8 games.
I want to chime in on the Sheldon Keefe thing for a second. Let's not forget that New Jersey was playing Buffalo. Sure, they might be 2-0, but they beat Buffalo twice, right? Like, so they're not playing like the upper echelon team in the league. It wasn't Colorado or something like that. As far as the injuries in this camp, it seemed very. They reported to camp on like Monday. They played a game on Wednesday. It seemed like, and I know that these guys are getting in shape all summer. They're skating and stuff like that, but it just seemed very rushed to me. I think that they should have maybe less games if they take it down to 6 games. Give those 2 extra days for guys to really get on the ice and contact with some inter-scrimmage games and everything, and really build up that intensity before they go into a game. You got guys out there that are trying to make lineups. They're trying to make a livelihood. They're throwing themselves into the fire and maybe a little bit too quickly.
Yeah, I can't say I disagree with you. George, what is your thoughts on game 1? What's your thoughts? Are you ready for this game?
5-0. Toronto stomps Montreal. Reeves punches out. Jack off.
Jack Paul, to George's to what George is saying there. Is it important for Toronto this season to win these games, these winnable games against teams that are obviously not as talented as we are right now, like Montreal and Anaheim and the San Jose's and so far, are these, because we're having problems usually, and I think this is where we're getting behind a little bit, is not winning the winnable games. Is this team able to do that, you think? And is it very important for us to get a good start with that?
I think it is now. Games head-to-head against Montreal can, regardless where they are in the lineup, and vice versa, Toronto, historically, there's 75% of those results are 1-goal games. So both teams really get up for each other. Yeah, you want to win as many games as possible. That is without a doubt. But it's going to be hard. I just know Craig Berube is going to make sure that happens. Sheldon Keefe and try to ensure that it's going to happen. But again, this core group of young guys, the Nylanders, the Marners, the Matthews, that group is now into their 9th year. They've been around a while. They're not rookies trying to learn the game. This team is ready to go. They're going to be a contender to win the Stanley Cup. There have to be additions. God forbid we see a key player go out with a knee injury or something of that ilk. Then things change. But all things equal, I think they're going to be more than up to winning these games and winning games against the good clubs as well. So let's just hope they stay healthy in net, especially healthy along the blue line, and that if any of those guys up front get hurt, it's not going to be for a long period of time. That is simply it. But yeah, they've got to win these games. But this game coming up Wednesday, that's not going to be a blowout by any means.
Yeah. I hate to say it, but I'm hoping George is right. I really do. A 5-0 start would be amazing to see.
I'd love that.
JT, is that William Nylander at center experiment over?
I hope not. I do like him on the wing. He's a force to be reckoned with offensively, but he's shown he can play both sides of the puck. He's matured. That guy has matured a lot as a player. I would say even just in the last 2 years, something has changed. A switch has been made. Something happened. He's a different guy on the ice now. You've seen it last year when he's yelling at guys on the bench. Just suck it up type thing. I think he's primed and ready, and I'd love to see him at center. I would. As for Jack Guy, I'd like to see that guy actually square up to a fight face to face and not just jump somebody from behind. Every single fight he starts by jumping the guy from behind. So let's see what the kid can do face to face.
Okay. All right. I'm just going to ask, I'm going to go around the room and just ask one player, just name one player. It could be the same player over and over. That's all right. But who do you think needs to get the best start for Toronto this season? Who really needs to have a good start? And you can include the coaches. We're going to start with you, Phil.
Matthews. Matthews is what propels this team forward. Matthews gets off to an unbelievable start. Look at that game that he just had last night. You know what I mean? he's dishing the puck. He's scoring. He's making adjustments mid-game. That first one-timer on the power play hit the guy low, and 30 seconds later or whatever, it was top corner of the net. You know what I mean? So as long as Matthews is going, so are the Leafs.
Okay, Paul, you're next up. Who is that player, do you believe?
Max Domi. I want to see him build on what he was able to end the playoffs and last spring on, and just continue that way with the new contract and build on that confidence. So Max Domi is a guy I think is going to play a key role with this hockey club, playing on a variety of lines depending on how a season goes.
George.
Oh, Paul picked my guy. No, don't worry about that. I'm totally down with Domi getting a good start, and I'm just going to throw another name out there. Let's see Cowan get some good goal out there.
Well, I don't know. I think Cowan might be heading back to the London Knights, but you know what? He could be very well scoring a hat trick right there for the London Knights. I believe Cowan's got a lot of unfinished business in the junior ranks, like I've said before, with the Memorial Cup being 1 goal away from winning that, as well as a Canadian junior gold. That would be great for his development, I believe. But hey, if he is in the lineup at any point in his first 10 games, that I think that would be really exciting. And you're right, I would love to see him with Domi and Marner and build that on that London Knights line. JT, you're up.
You just said his name, Mitch Marner. I think he needs to have a season. He came back from a high ankle sprain last year into the playoffs. He lost his East-West game. He could only play North-South, which is not his forte. I think he needs to be healthy, and he needs to prove everybody and get these monkeys off his back. There's a lot of people that give that guy doubt and clout that he doesn't deserve. I don't know. I think Matthews will have his year. Willie's going to have his year. I think Mitch Marner needs to have his year. I think he needs to substantiate what he is on that team and stand. And if not, I think he becomes a trade bait at the end of the year. But
yeah, I spoke to Scott Morrison not long ago on the Mitch Marner idea, and historically, players in their contract year, as Paul can attest to, they play like gangbusters. So that could really work for us. See Marner get over that 100-point threshold, and I think our prediction from last year was 3 guys with 100 points. Now that would be amazing. Although we're all off on the Auston Matthews goal prediction, and that's what we're going to do last here. What is your goal prediction for this season, Phil, for Auston Matthews?
Oh boy. I have seen some people saying that his goal total is going to be down because he is going to be more engaged in setting guys up. I still think that he's going to get upwards of 60 goals. As long as he's winning us games, then I don't care how many goals he scores. If he's setting guys up for the game winner, if he's getting the game winner himself, I don't care as long as we got the W.
Yeah, I believe Austin would probably agree with you there. George, Mr. Matthews' goal total for this season?
I say he beats 69, and I'm thinking maybe 72 to 75.
Well, that's a great threshold. A Stanley Cup might be in our future with that if he could carry that over into round 1. Paul, what's your prediction for this year?
I said 48 a year ago on this show, Ken, so I'm going to up that. I think 55 to 60, and to agree with your brother, I think he's going to be better defensively, and he's very good defensively, but I think there'll be extra sort of interest in that regard as well, and 55 to 60, and an improved defense to play on a player who's already good defensively.
So Craig Berube hockey is what you're telling me.
Yeah, bang on. Yeah.
Thank you. JT?
I think his goal totals are going to be down, and I think his total participation are going to be up. I look at McJesus and how he handled things. He came out, scored like gangbusters. The next year he comes out and they bring him all the way to the Stanley Cup, and he's not out there scoring goals. He's playing the game, and I'm pretty sure Matthews is showing everybody, look, guys, I can score 70 if you really want me to, but that's not what's going to win us a cup. And I think he, with a big C on his chest, that's his focal point. He'll get 50, maybe 55, but he'll be up there. And I think he's just going to be a monster on the plus minus. He's going to be a monster on the takeaways. He's going to be a monster on the block shots again. I think he's just going to be a monster.
Yeah, I agree with you. You know what? I'll take anywhere from your 55 that you guys are talking to straight through to Georgia's 75 and be perfectly happy in that season. Okay, one more thing, guys. Final score, Phil, for game one, Toronto-Montreal.
I'll try to keep my profanity down this time. I still think that the Leafs are going to win 3-2 overtime. Nylander, again, is going to score that goal.
George.
Well, I know it's going to be hard for them to do a 5-0 win, but that would be nice. But I'm going to be realistic here. It could be Hallmark in that net, and it's Hallmark, right?
Oh no, that's Ottawa.
Oh, that's Ottawa. My bad.
Montebello.
Let's say a 4-2 game.
Yeah.
Mr. Hendrick.
I took your score, or your player. You took my score. 4-2 in regulation, an empty net goal for the fourth.
JT.
That's exactly what I was just going to say. It'll be 3-2 with a minute and a half left, and we will bang an empty netter for a 4-2 final.
I'll take 4-1 just to top it off. And for everyone watching, please join us for our Ken's Corner, which is right here on the wall, our first live event. If you can't make it out to Stouffville, you can watch us on YouTube at Ken's Corner Podcast. Thank you, JT. You can watch us on TikTok at Ken G Judge, or right on Facebook at Ken Garbutt Judge. So join us. Thank you so much, Paul, for being here with us tonight. Oh, that time is October 9th, game one, 5:45, with Jim Mason, Coach TJ Hill from the Stouffville Spirit Junior A team, Mr. Brian McFarland. What a wonderful man. He told me to call him the king, by the way. Mr. Joe Tilley and Keith Acton. Phil, we'll see you there. Thank you so much for joining us. George, all the way out in Calgary. Hopefully you're not up in building an igloo within the next week with your snow in Calgary.
It's possible.
Yeah. And JT, thank you so much for joining us. My name's Ken Judge, and we're here on Ken's Corner, Leafs fan panel. And we will be back next week. Be ready for our release tomorrow, Monday. Thank you, guys. Have a great day.
Sayonara.
Bye-bye.